All right, so this is my first YouTube video. How you doing? My name is Ms. Puka, better known as the U.S. History Diva. So this year I decided to incorporate a lot of technology and launch a series of videos to help my students prepare for the U.S. History EOC in the state of Florida. I just completed my first lesson, which covered the Civil War and Reconstruction. So I want to take a few minutes to review what I believe are the main causes of the Civil War. Now students, you have to look at the causes from a political, economic, and social aspect. So let's get it cracking and let's go into causes of the Civil War. Now, we'll talk about my handwriting. This is a new device that I'm using, and I don't think this pen, goes with this Recordex. But anyways, I'm here to get the job done. Starting with one of the main causes that students always identify, slavery. I didn't mean it in like a positive manner, slavery, okay. So let's talk about slavery. Slavery honestly was a cause of the war from a political, economic, and social perspective. I want to focus on how slavery caused the war from a political aspect, starting with two compromises that I have already covered with, if not all of my students. The first one is called the Missouri Compromise of 1820. We discussed how, as a result of our war with Mexico, we did acquire an enormous amount of territory on the westward side of this country. And the question became, as a result of us expanding, should we allow slavery to also expand? And the answer to that question was the Missouri Compromise of 1820. How did the Missouri Compromise of 1820 answer this question? By creating a line called the 3630 parallel line, and basically any land below the line could be entered into the United States as a slave state, and any land above the line would be considered free land, or AKA free states. Now, did that solve our problem, which should have prevented the Civil War? Of course not. So let's move on to the second compromise. And the second compromise is called the Compromise of 1850. And I always tell students, when you think of the Compromise of 1850, think of the state of California. Cali Love, Tupac, Ice Cube, Nipsey, rest in peace. Think of California. Now, California technically should have entered the United States as a slave state, but in their own constitution, prior to becoming a state, they forbade slavery. So here we go. We have another conflict. How do we solve this conflict? Compromise of 1850. What was the compromise? Remember, compromises is just another word for agreement. We must reach an agreement if there is a conflict. So the Compromise of 1850 basically allowed California to enter the Union as a free state, because that's what they wanted, in exchange for a terrible law called the Fugitive Slave Law. Now, why was the South willing to allow California to enter the United States as a free state? Well, they were willing to do that because the Fugitive Slave Law now allows slave owners to go out and capture slaves that were running away to the north. So you're probably wondering, if they're running away, how does this law impact them? Well, if you're a slave and you run away to, let's say, the state of New York, you're not safe, B. The only way to escape freedom was to trek all the way up to Canada. And fortunately, we had a pioneer that goes by the name of Harriet Tubman that created what we call today the Underground Railroad. It was not necessarily underground, okay? It was a network of her and a number of abolitionists, white as well as black, helping these slaves run away to the nearest country in the north, which would be Canada. All right, so we just covered two compromises. Missouri Compromise of 1820, 3630 parallel line, free at the top, slave at the bottom. And then we just covered Compromise of 1850, which focuses mainly on California entering the United States as a free state in exchange for this Fugitive Slave Law. Let's move on and discuss other causes of the Civil War from a political aspect, which still deals with the issue of slavery. So as more territories filed to enter statehood, states are still in disagreement in terms of deciding whether or not this state should enter as a free or slave state. Two states in particular, Kansas and Nebraska, were undecided. They were like, you know what, some of us want this state to become a slave state, others wanted it to become a free state. A gentleman that goes by the name of Stephen Douglas recommended popular sovereignty. What is the meaning of popular sovereignty? It means to have a voice. It means to have the right to make decisions. In other words, the right to vote. Vote or die. Okay, and he proposed this concept under a law, don't miss it, it's called the Kansas-Nebraska Act. So this allowed residents of territories to now decide if slavery should exist or be forbidden. Why does this play a huge role in this topic? Well, the Kansas-Nebraska Act basically made the compromises null and void. So you're probably assuming, hey, this should have caused this entire conflict, this entire conversation to just go away. Because now people actually have a voice. Listen, people still were not in agreement with popular sovereignty because you already know voter fraud exists today and it also existed back in the late 1800s. So, great idea, but it also triggered this other, I wouldn't say crazy, this other new concept called state rights. Now you have states screaming, if my people want it, then that's what they get. And screw the federal government. Remember, we are called the United States of America for a reason. So as you continue to support state rights, it could get to the point where that unification that we're looking to maintain is now being threatened because states want to do as they please. When I went over this with my students, I said, look, think of it in terms of the relationship